Chris Hedges is a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter. He's going to go on CBC here, so you would expect on Canadian television that there'd be fair and decent reporting, right? But he's got a guy named Kevin O'Leary who's apparently not in that camp. Look, he's got an opinion. I got an opinion. I hear you. He does a very aggressive interview here. I'm not sure it was the right format for it, but understand Kevin O'Leary in the past is a guy who says that the unions should be illegal and that their members should be put in jail. So that's where he's coming from, and you're going to be able to tell right away in the beginning of this interview. Watch this confrontation.
So what exactly is everybody complaining about? And to also give me a sense of how much momentum this movement has, because it looks pretty nothing burger so far. Just a few guys, guitars, nobody knows what they want. They can't even name the names of the firms that they're protesting against. Very weak, low budget.
I wouldn't agree with that assessment at all. They pulled thousands of people into the street last night. And here in Washington, when everybody marched past Bank of America, they were shouting shame, shame, shame. They know the names of these firms, and they know what these firms have done, not only to the American economy, but to the global economy and the criminal class who runs them.
Oh, I love that. So since they don't have a lot of money, well, then they must be wrong. You missed the whole point of the protest. They're protesting the people with all the money controlling our government. And he's like, oh, well, if they don't have money, they must be a nothing burger. Okay, and then Chris Hedges comes in and goes, they know exactly what they're talking about. Of course they do. They're protesting people like you who want to hand over all the power to the banks and not give any of us a representative government. So Chris Hedges is going to explain it a little bit better here.
They know precisely what they want. They want to reverse the corporate coup that's taken place in the United States and render the citizenry impotent. And they won't stop until that happens. And frankly, if we don't break the back of corporations, we're all finished anyway, since they're rapidly trashing the ecosystem on which the human species depends for survival. This is literally a fight for life. It's that grave, it's that serious. Corporations, unfettered capitalism, as Karl Marx understood, is a revolutionary force. It commodifies everything, human beings, the natural world, which it exploits for profit until exhaustion or collapse. And the bottom line is we don't have much time left. We are on the cusp of perhaps another major banking crisis in Europe, defaults in Greece, followed by Spain, Portugal. There's been no restrictions, no regulations of Wall Street. They've looted the U.S. Treasury. They've played all the games that they were playing before. And we're about to pay for it all over again.
See, there it is. How simple was that? He's worried about a corporate coup taking over our government. How many times do we have to explain it to you? It isn't that there are corporations or that there are banks. The problem is that they have run away and bought all of our politicians through their funding and twisted all the rules to gain an unfair advantage. That's what we're all worried about. But apparently O'Leary's a little too thick to get it. But you want to talk about not getting it. Look at what O'Leary says next.
Listen, don't take this the wrong way, but you sound like a left-wing nutbar. If you want to shut down every corporation, every bank, where are you going to get a job? Where are you going to work? Where's the economy going to go?
Corporations don't produce anything. And
oh, really?
No. Financial corporations on Wall Street.
Are you driving a car to the protest?
No, they are speculators. I'm talking about the financial institutions like Goldman Sachs. They don't manufacture. They don't make anything. They gamble. They use money, and they believe falsely that money is real. As we dismantle our manufacturing base and send jobs over the border to Mexico and finally into the embrace of China.
Left-wing nutbar. That had to be my favorite. I wonder what I am. I don't know if I'm a whole left-wing cake. I don't know, but so he's like, "Whoa, what? I'm just doing an interview here. You left-wing nutbar. You're a nothing burger." What did I say something offensive? I was just asking questions. So again, for the millionth time, it's not that they're against all corporations. Is Kevin O'Leary really that dumb? Or does he think like, I'll trick the audience by thinking that these people want no business whatsoever. We want to shut down all the businesses in the country and in all of North America. Absurd.
I don't usually go on shows where people descend to character assassination. If you want to discuss issues, that's fine. But, I mean, this sounds like Fox News, and I don't go on Fox News. I mean, either you discuss the issues, and look, you have had very eloquent writers, people like John Ralston Saul in Canada, who have laid this out with, incredible lucidity. And to somehow attack this critique by calling someone a nutcase engages in the kind of trash talk that's polluted the corporate airways.
Excuse me, let's debate the issues then.
You were the one who started it.
I didn't call you a nutcase, I called you a nut bar.
You said you sounded like a left-wing nutcase.
Yes, bar.
Okay, that's an insult. And
are you left-wing and leaning at least, would you say?
No, I would say that...
You're a centrist?
Can I finish?
Please.
What do you think? Has this been a little antagonistic? Of course! Obviously it's antagonistic. But Chris Hedges is going to give him a little bit of truth here.
Okay, but you don't see any value in the banking system providing a financial infrastructure.
That's not what I said.
I'm asking you.
A banking system that functions as a banking system should. And in Canada, you do not have a banking crisis because you did not tear down the walls between commercial and investment banks and turn all of your banks into hedge funds. If instead of handing massive sums of money to Citibank, Wells Fargo, which are basically zombie banks, they still hold tremendous toxic assets, instead they're just sitting on the capital and not lending it.
Well, that was my favorite part of what Chris said, because what a great irony there. Because in Canada, the banks are very tightly regulated. The reason that they have been sound and safe, and why there aren't tremendous protests in Canada over an out-of-control banking system, is that they regulate the risk, how much risk they can take, and most importantly, they separate out customers' money from investment banking speculative trading that the banks are doing. So they can't speculate with your money. That's what Canada is doing right, and what the US is doing wrong, and why our economy collapsed. So here's a Canadian broadcaster basically saying, what's the matter with you? Why are you following our example? Or why do you want to follow our example while I don't want you to? I want you to go in the bad way, in the bad direction of the US. And then finally, here's a part that I disagree with Chris a little bit, although it's a fun little ending to the interview.
Just so we can come full circle, what do you suggest should be done with Goldman Sachs specifically?
They should be prosecuted. When you shove subprime mortgages on families that you know can't repay it, and then you dice up those mortgages as assets and sell them and bet against them through AIG, that's fraudulent activity.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We liked hearing your thoughts.
It'll be the last time.
So the reason I disagree with Chris on that, although it was a fun little ending to the interview, is that, hey, you know what? He asked you nut bar questions. Who cares? I don't mind if people ask me questions like that. I'd be like, bring it, you baldy banking bitch. Okay, whatever you got, I got better. You don't know what you're talking about at all. I can at least educate your ignorant ass. That's how I roll. But Chris was a little bit more composed, which is probably a good thing. But I don't mind taking those guys on at all, and Chris did a fantastic job there.